Hey everyone, before we get into this episode of the Mad Sounds podcast, just want to say a couple things here. So we had on Ethan, YouTube's favorite 13-year-old music reviewer, which in fact we did not harp on too much in the episode, luckily. If you want to get this episode as an MP3 for your phone or something like that, there are a couple links in the description to convert it to an MP3 on certain websites. We haven't put it on iTunes yet, we haven't really looked into that yet, but you know, we'll see what happens. And also, in this segment of what have you been listening to lately, we're going to be playing clips after each album we talk about, each artist we talk about. There are going to be links to each of the songs in those clips in the description down there if you're curious, so you don't have to ask about that. And without further ado, enjoy this episode of Mad Sounds. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Mad Sounds Podcast. We talk about music and other whatevers. I guess that's our second slogan now. My name's Mark.
I'm Johnny.
Yeah, and today we have a very special guest with us, as you might have heard. He's taken over the next generation for YouTube music reviewers. You may also know him as Pedro Picklez at the moment. I just got an email asking if I can work today. I just got a text. Okay.
I was wondering, was that Ethan or was that you? Because my phone's on vibrate.
My boss asked, but you know, if I do, then I would have to leave it at around about an hour. So, worst case, I'll say that I didn't see it.
Way to go,
yeah.
Mark.
Okay.
Super unprofessional.
Yeah, you know, I'm just gonna cut off the I'm just gonna cut off the podcast here, and I promise, guys. Here's the text. But yeah, it's LP Club. Ethan, just say stuff about yourself while I reply to this.
Oh, hi. My name's Ethan.
Welcome to the show.
Hello. I run a channel called the LP Club, currently known as Pedro Picklez. This might be for a while, but it will come back soon. I promise by August.
So
why
that name change? Why the name change, Ethan? Tell me like I haven't heard it already before.
I was using a school computer for an after-school project, and I logged onto my emails to check my Gmail because I had some files in Google Drive, and I forgot to sign out. Yep. And then a kid I know but don't know well, and he actually reviewed music for a little bit. I turned him on to like the whole community, and he just stopped. I'm just guessing he's jealous of me, but he changed me. Haters. Can't let those haters get you down.
Freaking that haterade.
He changed my name to Pedro Picklez, then I changed it back, then he changed it back again, and Google Plus only allows 3 name changes every 4 months. So it will be until August until my name is not Pedro Picklez. Please still subscribe.
It's the summer of Pedro Picklez, everybody.
Wait, and this was just like a genuinely like a guy that doesn't like. This wasn't like a little prank between friends. It was just like this vengeful thing
like a dick move
to besmirch the good name of the LP Club for months to come.
Yeah, I was like freaking out in class. I was just like yelling. Like I lost my shit, and everybody was like looking at me. I was like, dude, I just hit 1,000 subscribers. What the hell?
And now you're gonna lose all of them.
I understand.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna think you're like a bad sketch vlogger guy that hasn't uploaded a video since 2011.
I'm gonna do the pickle challenge. Pedro Picklez, I'm gonna squirt dill juice in my eyes.
I'm gonna
for the views.
I'm gonna drink juice from dill and bread and butter and then some sour gherkin and see if I can tell the difference.
This is gonna be the pickle taste blind challenge. I'm gonna blindfold myself and just feel the pickle juices between my fingers.
Gone wrong in the hood.
Gone wrong. 2016. Gone sexual.
Yeah.
And as you can hear, despite the fact that he is 13, you know, he gets what's going on. So guys, don't think about being all condescending and stuff if you decide to leave a comment, okay? The guy knows what he's talking about. He's had a top post on the Death Grip subreddit. He knows what he's talking about.
Just because he's 11 years younger than me doesn't mean anything.
Oh yeah,
it just makes me feel really fucking.
You know
old.
what? Funny thing, I just realized the last. I just realized we recorded. Full disclosure, we recorded like a 10-minute start a few days ago, but it just wound up not working out for reasons, you know. But and I mentioned this then, but I'm going to mention it again because it's interesting. The last guest we had on a podcast, Johnny, was Sean from Rewind Reviews, who's 15, and even then, toward the end of it, we had a whole thing about how you felt so weird talking to a guy that was that, and in response, here you go.
Can we just get someone my age? Like, just get an old guy. Hey, let's get Anthony Fantan. I can relate to Anthony. We're both old dudes.
Hey, look, we had John on for like 5 episodes. Okay? You had your fun.
Hey, you want to have some transparency? My boss is now calling me because...
Oh, come on. They know.
I'm not going to answer it. I'm not going to answer it. I'll text my boss and be like, hey... I'm in the middle of something. I already know about what's going on.
I just know.
I'll come
I showed a coworker the channel once, and now this is happening. They're trying to keep this podcast from going to where it needs to go. But either way.
So responsibilities aside, let's get this show at Antique Roadshow on the boat and go to Yugoslavland. Mark.
That's where all the good podcasts are recorded.
I did want to ask one question. I've never had the chance to ask him, or never just thought to ask him. Why the name the LP Club?
Okay, so I was like brainstorming ideas and stuff. I think it was like an impulse, but now looking back on it, it's like LP Let's Play Gamers, and like a lot of Let's Plays come up in my related videos.
Yeah, that's why I was curious, because I'm a guy who when he has time, does do LPs and music reviews, and I think that that's a really interesting choice to make that your name, because LPing is like a thing.
I didn't realize that until I was like, oh, maybe I should change my name. That was back before I actually got good, so I like messaged a bunch of my YouTube friends, and I was like, hey, can you guys help me come up with a name? And he's like, okay, the blank club is okay, but LP, you know, this is my friend Ethan. You guys may know him as the Double Agent.
Yeah, I know. I don't know him, but I've heard of him.
But he was just like, dude, like your related videos are all Let's Plays at the time. Now there are actual reviews there, but you know.
Well, yeah.
Well, you know what? You know what? Now, if the views start to slip after a while, you can hop on that old Let's Play gaming train.
Yeah.
You know, diversify your brand.
Trust me, that's a train that's not going to garner you instant new success. It takes a lot of time.
Oh yeah, totally.
You really have to find a niche in the Let's Play community.
Yeah, and you know there actually was, you know, and I do kind of like the idea of, you know, when we're having a guest on, asking a few questions before going into the segments. So Ethan, you know,
there you go.
And you know, I hate to, you know, harp on the fact that your age and all that, but it is kind of an interesting kind of thing to separate you from everyone else. So I'm kind of curious how you decided to start this channel. What was it? Just like you saw a bunch of other music reviewers decide to hop on that? Was you could offer something in particular that a lot of our people couldn't? I'm curious what decided to make you start this channel.
Okay, first of all, it's hailing outside where I live. It's like fucking hailing, like hail. Like big things of hail are falling down on my roof.
It's June.
It's a baseball season. June, get a hail down the twisters.
But
you don't know.
Going back to the channel thing, I don't actually remember my first reviewer, like the first person I saw, but I assume it's either Fantano or ARTV. Actually, I think it's Spectrum Pulse, because like I used to be really interested in the charts, and I still am quite interested. In fact, I'm in a Skype group called New Musical Republic, and we do podcasts and stuff, and we talk about the charts. But I started watching Billboard Breakdown. I'm like, oh my god, there's a whole thing. People do visual reviews and stuff. And at the time, I worked for like a local blog. Like I helped with a local blog, and I wrote reviews and stuff. They weren't very good. My grammar was terrible at the time. Like capitalization and shit all over the place. And
you're a kid, you learn.
Oh yeah, listen. Here's the thing. I put up my first review when I was 14, and I'm actually thinking, and I uploaded it in August 2011. I'm actually thinking about doing like a reaction, a video to it for for the 5th anniversary of it.
14 in 2011.
That'd be great.
How am I the one making you feel old right now?
Because you guys are just... You're young. Cherish the youngness.
I'm supposed to...
I need a stogie and a jacket.
Okay, we'll get Mike C. Town on next time, I promise.
Thank you. I'm cool with that. I gotta dye my hair to fit in with the youngins. Yeah.
I mean, look at you with your Star Wars and Beatles in the background. You don't get this generation. Where's your pews and your other...
I'm stuck in the old ways. I'll just drink my whiskey and revel my sadness.
But like, I watched Spectrum Pulse and I was like, oh, well, crap. There's a whole community here, and so I was like, So I finally somehow worked my way down through all of the people, and I started watching Sean from Rewind Reviews.
Okay.
And I don't know, he was like the first person who was like, hey, look. There's a youngling on here, and
I gotcha.
I was like, okay, well, maybe I should give this a shot because I'm not too shabby at reviewing. Keep in mind, my best review was the review of the Nate Ruess album that came out like 1.5 years ago, Grand Romantic, and I was just praising the shit out of it because I loved Fun, and it wasn't like a well-biased review. It was just like me being like, holy shit, this is so good. When in retrospect, it's like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. Because the thing is, I didn't see anyone say it sucked, but I didn't see anyone putting it on, like, a year-end list. But yeah, I think, like, it's kind of just, like, universally agreed it's a 7. You know, it's just one of those albums where, it's good.
Except for the Boston Times Globe. When you go on the Wikipedia page, there's someone who gave it a 0 out of 5 stars.
What? Okay. See, that always kind of irks me when you give an album like that, because it's not an album of the year, but, like, there's nothing offensively terrible about it. Like, not even in, like...
Look at you! Oh, look at you!
But aside from that, and I made fun of that in the opening sketch of my review of that. If you don't remember.
But Mark, I have a question, philosophical question to Bode. Wouldn't the fact that you are in fact just inoffensively okay be in itself like a problem because you aren't doing anything incredibly inherently?
I can see that, but at the same time, I think that being way too formulaic can in itself be like an offensively bad thing in a way. But even then, I don't think that album really did that. It still went in like a few different territories, so it doesn't even fail in that kind of way. It's just like
I'm not slamming the record.
It's just like
I was just proposing the question.
I know, and I'm not like arguing or anything. But it's like not even really bad on that level. It's like I don't really see a reason unless you go in with like a preconceived hatred of everything he's done, or just like you just find the sound of his voice automatically repulsive, which I know some people do, and that's understandable.
One of my best friends really hates Fun. That's our beef. That's our beef right there. Like back and forth always, because Fun is one of my all-time favorite bands, and I'm just like, how do you hate this? But I understand it. Like people find it overprocessed or the audio tune just used for whatever reason. But here's the thing about that solo album. There were some really fantastic songs in there. Harsh Lights is an incredible song. It Only Gets Much Worse is a fantastic ballad. Aha is just weirdly awesome. But besides that, nothing really sticks out and really grabs me, you know?
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, and I kind of relate to, like, probably a newer example would be, like, the Brian Fallon album that came out. Yeah, I can see why some of this didn't make it onto Gaslight Anthem albums. Like, it's very consistently good. Like, there's nothing that I would put in, like, the top 5 songs he's ever written, but it's just very consistently solid, and I don't see, like, why someone would be, like, super alienated by it unless they just hate all acoustic guitars, and I think it'd be kind of a similar thing with the Nate Ruess album, like if you just hate songs that have pianos instead of guitars, just something really nitpicky like that. But anyway, I feel like that's enough of kind of the pre-thing going into this. Yep. No, see, this podcast I feel like should be built on tangents in a way.
Yeah.
the thing that I was kind of worried about when I was introducing segments and stuff, which we're going to get into shortly, is I was worried that things would get a little too regimented, that it would kind of have this formula to it instead of, you know, just this unpredictable, woo, fun time thing that, crazy time thing that, that Mad Sounds, has kind of been up to this point. You know, we don't really have our brand, and that's our brand, you know?
Before we get into this huge overlaying discussion thing, there is one other thing I wanted to ask, branching off of something that Ethan had said.
Okay.
You kind of talked about how your way of talking about music has changed. Do you feel like that's changed, or your way of kind of presenting your opinion has changed? Because you said like one of your first reviews was like just this huge, not fanboyish delivery, but you were very passionate about your love of this album.
I'd call it fanboyish. But yeah, I think it's a mix of both, actually.
So do you think that your growth has changed, or you've more found a way to present an opinion that is still your own, but kind of molds more to kind of, I don't want to say norms, but kind of a standard?
Oh yeah, I just feel like the presentation of how I explain things isn't as rigid and just kind of bad, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I totally get that, because, I mean, I've been doing this channel for maybe like 2.5 years at this point, and for a year before that, I was just doing text reviews, which I think you said you were doing that, like, on a blog or something?
Yep.
Yeah. Because it's been, like, a full album cycle since I've done this, you know, a band released a new album, I decided to watch my old review of their last album, and when I do that, I've noticed...
I do that all the time.
Yeah, and when I do it, well, yeah, especially since you're doing discography reviews, you know, you got a lot more to watch. Yeah, you got a lot more old version of yourself to cringe at than I do. Sorry about that.
Very much so. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, and especially when your friend reminds you of your old No Love Deep Web review when he's going through the entire Death Grips catalog.
Yeah. Although I still don't think that's a terrible review.
Yeah, that was
out of my older ones, it's probably one of my better ones.
Yeah, that was actually, and ironically, that got all the hate. But anyway,
yeah.
So where I was going with that, so when I watch these, the thing I notice is that the content's always there. I think that the way I talk then, even if it is a little more rigid, like I think I'm better at, even when I'm writing a script, sounding like I'm not reading a script. Even though I still do it word for word, which I know I'm going to grow out of at some point, but I guess.
Go with the flow, man.
Yeah, you know, just let the words flow off your tongue. Everyone's an improv artist, you know.
I mean, hey, man, I don't really script anything.
Yeah,
it works for me, man. Why doesn't it work for you, man?
Yeah, is that because I was like doing that text stuff beforehand? I just kind of sometimes scripted my videos as if it were a text thing, and you notice as you go along, like the subtle differences that make it feel make it feel way more like calculated, and you learn to kind of talk in just the way you would normally talk after a while.
Exactly. You kind of find a way to mold the two worlds together, which is a good thing to do. That's a really good thing to do. It's a really good way to kind of base your reviewing, especially if you're writing scripts or even vibing off of notes, which is something I've done sometimes, especially for something like the Uno Dos Tres. I did that. I had notes that I kind of bullet pointed my thoughts on, you know.
Yeah, especially when you know your entire hobby involves just watching and hearing your own face and voice and opinions. You kind of start to pick up like the little subtleties in how you speak. See, I just have like a weird word choice in how I inflect things sometimes. Like even that, inflect isn't a word, but I used it because screw you. And you just kind of learn to work with that after a while. I think the more that you can mold those things, it works out better for you in the long run. It just kind of make, like how I'm talking here, not feel too like it's a different person than who I am in the video reviews when everything's scripted out.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, that was a tangent, but
this is
it was
podcasting class.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of segments, man, we're like 20 minutes in already. This is some good content. So what happened a couple episodes ago, you guys might notice, is that I launched this new segment called What Have You Been Listening To Lately? Which is basically like where we, is pretty self-explanatory, but sort of like a conversation starter with what we've been listening to. Again, some cool tangents from there, hopefully. But what happened there was that I recorded this theme song for it, and just due to an editing snafu, it wound up playing the Mad Sounds theme instead. Luckily, that original version was kind of crap, honestly. Like, it had some weird tempo things missing in it, so last week, before our initial day to record this, I decided to make a better record version of it, which I'm going to be playing for you right now. What have you been listening to lately? What are the songs that you just gotta play me? The question comes up weekly, nightly, daily. So what have you been listening to lately? Yeah. So, let me ask you guys, what have you been listening to lately?
Let's start with Ethan, because he's a guest,
and
that's a proper kind thing to do.
Alright, well, a lot of recent albums that came out in 2016 I've been listening to, because I like, there's some really good stuff that came out in May. Been going back to that Radiohead album a lot. Really great record.
Mm-hmm. I still haven't heard it yet. I plan on listening to it when it comes to Spotify tomorrow.
This is Friday.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and they're actually having like this worldwide event at like a ton of different record stores, and the one like 2 towns away from me is having it during the same day that I'm working the whole time, and it's killing me that I can't go to it.
Oh no.
This is love, flying panic attack. Sing a song on the jukebox that goes.
I've been listening to a lot of the Wonder Years just because I saw them back in April. They're an incredible live band. They're so good. And I've been digging through their discography. I recently picked up the Upsides on vinyl, and it's just this beautiful splatter color thing that looks so nice. And I love it. I just love the way it looks. I've been listening to the Popstar soundtrack, the Lonely Island movie.
Of course.
Is it good? I like the first couple singles that I've heard from it.
Okay, so here's the thing. The soundtrack is great, though there is some, like, meticulously stupid stuff. I went to see the movie. It definitely wasn't appropriate for me. And my...
I was gonna say.
The thing is that we're gonna be talking about a couple movies later on, and one of them makes Popstar look like Finding Dory. I'll put it like that.
Fair enough, that's true. I saw that one with my mom. I saw this one with my dad. My dad, legit, after the most inappropriate scene of the movie, said, "Okay, we gotta go now." I didn't even get to finish seeing Popstar. My dad was like, "We are leaving." My dad's like, "We are leaving. Sorry. I know you love these guys. I like Andy Samberg too. I liked it. It was funny, but this is just not appropriate for you." And I'm like, "Okay, fair enough."
Okay, so how much of the movie was left, do you think? Like,
Probably
how long
like
into it were you?
20 minutes.
Oh, man, I was thinking, like, maybe halfway into the third act or something, but... Oh. Yeah, because when I was talking to you about whether or not you were going to see this movie that we're going to be talking about in a little bit, we were going to this back and forth about... You were thinking about, like, seeing it with your aunt or with a friend, and I was like, yeah, and if Popstar is too much for your family, then... And that's definitely going to be it. And you said that like the movie theater is kind of loose about the whole R-rated thing.
Yeah. I actually ended up going to see the movie that we have not mentioned yet with my mom, and afterwards she was kind of in this parallel state of what the hell did I just see? And I thought the movie was great, but I probably should have seen it with my friend, even though he's just a dick at responding.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? We might as well just bring up the movie now. Yeah, Johnny. So Ethan and I, there are 2 movies that we saw over the past few weeks, and I actually saw these movies like 2 weeks ago. So I apologize if my memory's a little off. But I can't recommend these enough. So the first one it's actually been out over in different countries for about a year now, but it's just being released in the U.S. Have you heard of this movie, The Lobster?
No.
Okay, so
Other than the Facebook, I completely. I was like, what movie are they fucking talking about? And then, oh, The Lobster. Yeah, I still never heard of that.
Okay, boy, how do you describe this? It's a weird movie.
Okay, it's dystopian mixed with romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Mixed with some of the most uncomfortable, rigid scenes ever.
Yeah, so basically the concept behind it is, it's this kind of, I don't even know if dystopian is the way to put it, but it's like this alternate reality society. It kind of sounds like, it's kind of a pitch movie, basically. Like, you can imagine someone pitching it to someone, like, because it's very concept driven. So basically it's this society where where everyone is supposed to be in a relationship with someone. And if you're single, you're transported to this program where you have 45 days to find a mate within this hotel setting, or else you get transformed into an animal of your choosing.
What?
What? Yeah. And it gets better. You're supposed to find someone that has like a defining characteristic. I'm not going to get too much into it, but and then another part of it is how like you're supposed to go into the forest and hunt down single people that have escaped to their own kind of outcast society.
What?
It's hard to explain.
And it stars Colin Farrell in the role, and you don't really recognize him. Like
he's really fat, and he has a mustache.
I actually saw him on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and he actually like, gained 40 pounds.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
He kind of has like a little bit of a Hitler stash, and
yeah, but that has nothing to do with it. Rest assured. But he's kind of like this normal kind of guy.
So dry. Everything is conceived with so little emotion.
Yeah.
That is my only pitfall for this entire movie.
Yeah, you know what? And you know what? I don't even blame that on the movie, because if there's one thing that this movie did wrong, in my opinion, because the rest of it is awesome. It has this really weird thing that once you can get into it, if you're into like that, like the drier, kind of darker sense of humor, because the worst thing about this movie really is the marketing. Because I heard like people talking about this before I saw any trailers, because obviously no movie theater I was going to is playing the trailer for this. And then I saw the trailer after I saw the movie.
Hold up. My movie theater was playing the trailer for The Lobster months in advance. My local movie theater plays like art indie films that's like 2 blocks away from where I live. I walk up there on like a weekly basis. They played that along with like a trailer for Deepan, which they're playing, which is also like another indie art film that won the same prestigious art thing that The Lobster won. It was played in advance of Money Monster, which with Julie Roberts and George Clooney, which I saw, which wasn't great, but
yeah.
But like I was like, "Huh, this looks amazing," and it wasn't marketed that well.
I especially noticed this once I went to the Facebook page, because sometimes you watch a movie, you like it, you wanna like you like their Facebook page, even if it is for this one-time movie thing. It could be sometimes fun to follow it for a little bit. But I noticed that the way they were billing it was, hang on, I want to go to this Facebook page because it really is some false advertising.
I'll load it up.
Hang on a second, I'm already going to it. I'm gonna cut out a space here.
Cut out a space. Space is not a tangible, cuttable object.
So it's an editing term. You want to understand? You one take, unscripted, peasant. Okay.
I'm too artsy for you, Mark.
No, we're the ones watching The Lobster here, okay?
Stylish, relatable, and unbelievably funny.
And then catch Colin Farrell as you've never seen him before in The Lobster, the feel weird, laugh out loud relationship comedy of the year, now playing. And then
stylish, relatable, and unbelievably funny. The Lobster is must-see filmmaking. Don't miss the movie that everyone is talking about.
Still haven't seen the year's wildest comedy? Now's your chance. This weekend, catch The Lobster in theaters nationwide. So basically, and when you look in the comments, is that it's just people that expected a typical rom-com, which somehow, because there had to be some purpose in, because it's very hard when you watch this movie to mark it as just another rom-com with kind of a dark twist to it, but they did it. And they probably knew what they were doing trying to get the American audience. But you see, it's just like people were like, what is this? I don't like that there was a joke about an animal being hurt. And, you know, it's just like these really, like, and I hate to sound totally elitist, but it's just like the kind of the masses freaking out at not getting what they were advertised. And I just think that's, I mean, it is kind of funny seeing all that, but at the same time, it's like, man, if this was advertised to people better, like, it would be getting way better a reputation with people, but right now it's just
yeah. Like here's the thing, I liked it a lot. I thought it was a very well done movie, but kind of how intense the dryness was a little bit killed it for me, just a tiny bit. Here's the thing, I feel like there needed to be a change of emotion. Like there needed to show more emotion at that point. I still thought it was a really good movie, and I definitely recommend it if you. Yeah,
if you're
not my age.
Yeah, like if you love a really cool concept that kind of explores the whole like ideas of, I'll put it like this: if your favorite song on the 1975 album was "Love Somebody," loving someone, then you're gonna love just the concepts and ideas that are tackled in this movie. And if you have like that kind of, I guess, British, dry, kind of dark, sarcastic sense of humor that's running throughout this, and they're really good. Yeah,
Sean.
Yeah. Thank you. Then, well, I'm recommending this to him. Since, I mean, he's been playing there for like a year, so, you know.
It's true.
But, he's probably already seen it 3 times.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that's highly recommended.
Can I just pause this for a second? I sent a Snapchat to someone before I did this, because I was looking up on my research for The Lobster, and they sent it back saying, isn't The Lobster a scary movie? Like a horror movie?
Okay, okay, so they just don't know what they want to do with this thing. Rightfully so, it's kind of hard to categorize, but man, I can't get this off my mind. Like, I kind of feel bad.
I can't sit aside while The Lobster gets broiled harsh in a vat of water.
I mean, I suppose if you did bill it as a horror movie, it would have alienated fewer people, but at the same time they'd be like, oh, what are these philosophical things of romance and jokes and stuff? Ew. I want to see more blood.
Yeah, they just can't market this in a good single way. They have to cross it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, have you thought of what animal you'd like to be if you end up alone?
Yes, a lobster.
A lobster is an excellent choice. If you encounter any problems you cannot resolve yourselves, you will be assigned children. That usually helps.
I feel like, Johnny, we should probably be moving on to you since we've been talking about this stuff for a while.
I mean, I've been listening to lots of older stuff. I've been working more on listography than I have in my listening log. The only modern record I've heard since the last podcast was the new Dalek record, which was good. Not as good as their, like, golden age classic industrial stuff, but it was still really good. It was a lot softer than I thought it was going to be. Like, I kind of akin the instrumentals on it to almost like Fear Factory ballad scraps. So they still have like an industrial tinge, but they're not as like harsh and incredibly just unsettling as their stuff on like Absence and stuff. But it was still really good.
Yeah, because I remember that you were mentioning them on the last episode when we were talking about artists that probably inspired the sound of Death Grips earlier on. So that's interesting.
Oh, yeah, and undoubtedly, yeah. If anything, they kind of drew inspiration.
I swear they look like no comprehension of what ox mean. Find basic tenets of breath shocking. Breathe deep, motherfucker. We just talking. Necessary.
I've also been really into just making just playlists of stuff that I'm in the mood for. Like, I made this one the other day, and I've just been labeling them just flat out, just like dates and timestamps. And I made one the other day that I'm still jiving with. It's a lot of like the industrial dance stuff that I was listening to a lot when I was younger, like KMFDM, Nitzareb, you know, all those European groups. But I also threw groups like Algiers and modern stuff like the Black Queen in there, and they all meld together really well. I haven't really been focusing on what do I want to work on? And it's more just what do I want to listen to.
Algiers is pretty awesome.
Yeah, they were really good, and I don't feel like enough people talked about them, man. Like Algiers was like really dope.
Yeah, you know, that was one of those debut albums that like I heard everything about. I still haven't listened to it outside one song, and then the one that you told me was one of the songs that should have been hits.
Yeah.
It was 3 words that weren't really related. I forgot what it was called.
Irony, Utility, Pretext.
Thank you.
That one.
That's a good
beautiful.
song.
That is a good song. That one's also in the playlist. Because I try to get more dancey stuff, because there's some Depeche Mode and stuff in there too. Just really playing on that like 80s synth pop / 80s industrial edgy stuff. Like that's kind of what the whole playlist, the recent one that I made, is really built around.
I got you.
Before that I was really on a huge metal kick, but lately, like the past week, I've been listening to a lot of that sort of stuff.
Nice. Now, I guess that I'm gonna move on to something that I saw, because I've been teasing this for you guys for a little bit now. Just for context, last year I had a really crappy job at the county fair, and I almost swore off that I wouldn't go to it this year, which is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in a nutshell, I had this really crappy summer job as a parking director in an overflow lot at the county fair. And people would, like, get out of their cars and moving traffic to go to the restroom and wouldn't understand why I would say that's not allowed. It's a whole thing. So, this county fair holds a lot of concerts every June. And I go to a good amount of them just because, you know, it's pretty cheap, all things considered. And they get some, you know, classic rock bands. And Switchfoot plays every year, so, you know. But, but this year, I wound up getting an unlimited admission ticket, which was pretty nice. After work last Saturday, I decided that I would head down there, and I saw an artist that that Johnny, you and John, and basically everyone else in our little community has been recommending I listen to their last album, which I didn't get around to until last weekend. And I will say I mean, not to give away too much, but I really liked this person's concert. It filled me with a lot of feelings,
really,
and other synonyms for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'm trying to think of other. I mean,
she's a doll. You can go ahead and say it. You can go ahead and say it, man.
Well, I mean, I don't know what I don't know what I can call it. Maybe it would be synth pop or it was Carly Rae Jepsen. Yeah, it was Carly Rae Jepsen.
I'm laughing on the inside, but I'm dead on the outside, Mark.
Look, as far as puns, I run away with it.
Oh!
That's great. That's great podcast material, by the way. Our harmonies, but yeah, it was.
I didn't know if that was a.
But yeah, it was Carly Rae Jepsen. You know what? My favorite Vine right now. That is a horrible phrase to say. I cringed at myself.
My favorite Vine right now.
Look, I mean,
I was gonna say I didn't know that was a trend. Was making that a meme? I didn't know that was a meme, and I think that's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I just happened to come across that because on the Run Away With Me Facebook Wikipedia page, there was like a whole subsection about the Run Away With meme, as they put it.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing is how someone did a mashup of that. So it's that scene in SpongeBob with the victory screech.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd seen
I'll
that.
link in the
It's
description.
funny.
It's glorious. But
yeah, it's good.
I mean, sure, if people be like can do favorite Vine, even though they don't do that anymore. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Ethan. So anyways, feeling. I'll be your center in secret when lights go out. Run away with me, baby. Every single minute, I'll be here and when the lights go out. Run away with me.
So Miss Jepsen,
we got it.
So Miss Jepsen.
So for those of you guys that are a little confused why we're suddenly fans of the Call Me Maybe Girl, if you haven't been keeping up with the with every year-end list of last year that was just super surprised. She put out this album called Emotion, or Emotion. She's been just calling it Emotion in interviews, so I'm just gonna go with that. And it's really, really good. I really regret, and that was not intentional on the bad taste first single, but
yeah.
By the way, probably the biggest mistake made related to that is that she made I Really Like You the first single, just doing like the second attempt at Calling Maybe, because if Run Away With Me was the first single, I genuinely believe that album would be a smash hit.
Oh, that's one of the best pop songs I've heard in like years. I would not doubt that. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That song.
And what's funny is that when you look at the set list on, because I decided to look on setlist.fm afterwards, just kind of see, like 75% of the songs she's been playing on her tour have been from that album. So it's like she knows that now she's finally got the attention of the hipsters, so it's better to just stick with that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Like, going back, Call Me Maybe
isn't that bad of a pop song.
Oh yeah,
it's just really...
Oh yeah, it's not the worst pop song. In general, like I think like 2012 to 2013 are two of the better years of this decade as far as pop music go.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
definitely.
I mean, I think like musically, it's a well written song. I think its only crime is that it's just a lot cutesier than, like, to the point, I don't know, maybe it's kind of a demographic thing. Maybe if we were all, you know, girls and stuff, like, not to be sexist, but it probably would have appealed more. I just have that feeling. Plus, I forgot who pointed this out. It might have been Spectrum Pulse in his review of Emotion, but the fact that it was like this 26-year-old girl trying so hard to have this cutesy 16-year-old attitude felt a little cynical, you know?
Well, and that's what the problem with I Really, Really Like You is. Like,
yeah. And it's just kind of going for that same thing again. But yeah, going back to
me, not
this,
to Ethan.
And also the difference with this new album is that, like, I feel like she's actually gotten like a lot more power in her voice, because before, you know, like, if you listen to Call Me Maybe, it's just like this kind of whisper singing that's like, I guess trying to be, you know, nice and fluffy and stuff, but it just sounds weird. You know, whereas she's actually kind of putting a little more into it on
well, because
Emotion.
that was the same problem with Good Time. It had that same kind of very soft spoken quality to it.
Yeah, and you know, funny thing, she actually did play Good Time in during her set, kind of going back to the concerts. So she had like a full band with her, which was great. And they had a guy doing Owl City's parts. And at first, for a second, I was looking at him and I thought, is that Adam Young? Did they just bring him out for this? Because he sounded a lot like him. He kind of had similar, you know, swooped kind of hair. But then I realized, nope, that was just the keyboardist who was picking up a guitar. And he was playing the saxophone during Run Away With Me and one other song.
Really?
So it's just like, this guy was just pulling his weight for this show. Got to give a big shout out to him. I forgot his name, but
for sure,
because he was introducing the band toward the end.
The Adam Young lookalike.
And by the way, shout out to any solo artist that does the band introductions during their set. That's just a cool thing to do. Like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was great. Like, she sounded just like she does on record, and again, it was mostly stuff from Emotion. So it was a great set list.
So it was a good set. So it was a good set.
Yeah, but yeah, Emotion is just one of those albums where, like, almost any song on it could be, like, in a just world, would have cracked the Hot 100 in some way. But right now, just
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, but then just right now, you know, I Really Like You is the only thing that hit because we're just kind of.
That's not true.
No. I mean,
they play.
I mean, in the Hot 100, just in strictly that is what I mean.
Run Away With Me hasn't cracked the Hot 100. Are you serious?
Nope. I mean, I could look it up. I'm just gonna go. I can go to a Wikipedia page. What were you gonna say?
I'm on it right now. It hasn't.
Dang it, man! I'm the research guy here.
I love Wikipedia.
Hey, he could be it too.
Okay, that's fine.
Now, guys, as the old guy here, you shouldn't use Wikipedia as a cited source because it's easily editable. It's easily editable.
And you know,
I could
whenever
go in there right now and put that Rae Jepsen likes tacos. It
you know
doesn't
what?
necessarily mean she
Because
does.
you know what? Because I just got off 4 semesters of GE classes, and I just tell them, well, it collects a bunch of different citations. Like, I can just go to. So in a way, Wikipedia is a decent source if you use it right.
It's a good aggregate. Yeah, it's a good aggregate.
Hold this up.
Okay.
So you know how Rae Jepsen did the Fuller House theme, like the reboot of Full House on Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song peaked higher on the pop songs chart than Run Away With Me did.
What?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I can see how it could.
If I was doing okay, money-wise, I would break these headphones right now. Because I am very livid about that.
No, okay, because one, it's like a reimagining of an already popular television theme. So of course it's going to be popular. Yeah. And two, it's dumb as shit. So of course it's going to be popular than a genuinely good pop song.
I know, but still, but yeah. I mean, Run Away With it did go on the Canadian 100. So
yeah, I heard that.
Yay! But
that's what's more important. That's
my song
Canada,
right now.
man.
My favorite song on that album right now is All That. That song is.
Oh yeah.
That song is great.
It's
a good one.
It's All That.
I didn't go there. There we go. I was gonna make a joke about how, hey, wait a minute, this album is about 80s nostalgia. You're doing the 90s. That's not right. You're crossing the generational streams.
That sax line in Run Away With Me is also super early 90s-ish, man. Like super early 90s-ish.
I can hear that. Oh, you know what? A couple things. So, for you guys who don't know, Ethan and I were originally going to be doing a collab review of... so we're going to be recording one in a little bit of the new Red Chili Peppers album. But our one we were originally going to be doing it of was Mudcrutch, which was Tom Petty's old band. They released a new album. But we just decided, aside from my own procrastination with listening to it, maybe it's a little small to be our big collab review. You know?
Yeah, it's like, I think everybody who heard it can agree, yes, this is a 6 to light 8 out of 10. No variation from that at all. No one will be like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. Oh, this is amazing, 10 out of 10. Everybody's like, okay, 7.
Yeah, it's kind of like we were talking about before. It's basically like with the Nate Ruiz album. You know, it's just like, yeah, it's good. In its respective genre. And that's all. You know?
Yeah.
Like, if this was the last Tom Petty album, or, like, a couple Tom Petty albums from before that, then I can see that. But for this, it's just like, yeah, it's good. Moving on. You know, it's very reviews and haikus friendly. I'll just put it like that.
I'm just plain old sandwiched in between. So save your water, woman, I won't drink out of your stream.
Oh, you know, one other thing, Ethan, is that, like I said, we're going to be talking about the Red Chili Peppers album in a little bit for our big collab review. I've been listening through a lot of Red Chili Peppers lately, and there's one album of theirs that I just now listened to that I've been kind of, not really putting off, but I just hadn't listened to yet. And that I've heard a lot of mixed opinions about, and that album was One Hot Minute. And I'm curious, if you guys have thoughts on that, because I have some thoughts.
I think it's alright.
Yeah, I agree.
It's worth listening to for 1 hot minute.
And
a couple
nothing
songs
more.
I really like, and that's it.
It's this weird, like, circling back of high expectations, because people gave it flack when it came out, and now it's getting this thing of, like, it's actually really underrated. And then I listened to it, and it was like, maybe it deserves some of that flack, you know? Like, it's kind of like...
Some of the flack, yeah. I do...
It's like if you listen to Pinkerton and it was actually, like, really sloppily put together. See, the thing about this album, for those guys who don't know, this was from 1995. is the follow-up to Blood Sugar Sex Magic from after John Frusciante left for the first time, and David Navarro from Jane's Addiction came in. And
which is
what
a great
was,
fill-in, by the way. That's a great fill-in, by the way.
Although I think I kind of have an unpopular opinion about this, and this isn't just like any kind of John Frusciante fanboyism, because I actually don't think David Navarro was that good a fit for the band, because when I was listening to a lot of this album, sure, well, there were a few tracks where it did kind of mesh together. I felt like what happened was that the other members made a Chili Peppers album and then just gave it to Dave Navarro to do his Jane's Addiction style playing over it, and it was just like this weird mishmash, and it just added up to something that was only an interesting curiosity, but there wasn't too much on it that I would go back to. I don't think. Okay, you know, we're kind of quiet now. I'm gonna say this, and it might get some people riled up. I think Josh Klinghoffer is a better fit for Chili Peppers.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang it! I was hoping for some edginess.
I don't hate Klinghoffer personally. I think out of all the non-Frusciante guitarists, Klinghoffer's the best fit.
Yeah.
I think what he's adding on the new songs is really good.
Oh yeah. Because actually, that is something I want to talk about with you, Johnny. Because you know, I've been listening. Basically, what I've been doing is I've been doing basically anything. Basically, putting all of my Red Hot Chili Peppers stuff from my phone on shuffle. I would probably say that By the Way is my favorite album from them. Even like I kind of put a lot of them on the same tier. But
really,
yeah, because honestly, I think that's just one of those albums where like whenever a song from it came on, I, more than anything, I'd be like, hey, like, and it kind of felt fresh a lot of the time. But that's a whole other thing. But I remember a while ago, Johnny, you were posting about how I'm with you is, you know, I never know which word to emphasize in that title. By the way, is that I'm with you?
I'm with you,
or is it I'm with you? I'm with you. Or I'm with you. Like, I don't know. It was never really made clear. Johnny, I remember a while ago you were posting about how with I'm with you think that's a super underrated album, and I totally agree with that. That was another one of those albums where like, anytime a song from it came on, I was like, hey, this is like one of the more interesting songs they've done recently, and people say this album's boring for some reason. It's so confusing.
I have no idea, because like, I'm with you is like, it shows a very, I don't want to say mature and I don't want to say old, but those are the words I want to go to.
No, I agree with that.
Their Chili Peppers are showing that they've definitely matured and aged as rockers. You know, like they have Dance Dance Dance. It's like a bossa nova jam, you know? Like, that makes sense for them to make that, because they were like super beachy rock band. They were like a super beachy rock band in like the 90s, so like it only makes sense that they would kind of mature into this older sounding beachy sound in their later years. You know, and that's why I liked the songs from this new album, because they have that funk, but it is in a bit more of a mature, I don't want to say darker, but more somber soundscape. And I dig that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, even then, I don't think it's one of the stronger songs in the album, and even then, like you're saying, like it kind of has this more serene vibe to it, but at the same time, it has some really weird but awesome experiments on it. Like Monarchy of Roses. When I first heard that song, that just was just like this weird like mix of styles between the verse and the chorus that they somehow mix together way better than it should, and totally. Like and just the first song that I heard when I was shuffling through this was Goodbye Hooray, and just the groove on that song with how crazy the drums are and everything. It's like,
yeah, it's a good album.
Yeah, and I strongly encourage you guys, like, if you are like John Frusciante loyalists and just act like he's an original member of the band, which he's not. He's like the third guitarist in the band, but whatever. So I guess you're discrediting their entire first 5 years of their career. I digress. Just listen to this album with fresh ears, with I'm with you, and I just think from a compositional point of view, it is one of their better albums, like altogether. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and especially when it got to the Brendan's Death song, like if that doesn't give you some kind of feelings, then you're lying to yourself. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
It's one of their better ballads in general. Like, yeah. I'm with you. And honestly,
This is going to be a little bit of an unpopular opinion. I think I'm with you is better than Stadium Arcadium.
Oh, I agree with that, because you know what? The thing with Chili Peppers albums that even though I kind of really like most of them, that it's always kind of irked me is that they are way too long. Most of them like cross the hour mark and go into like 15, 16 songs. And Stadium Arcadium being a double album is just by definition kind of the worst of that. There is probably enough in there to make a really great like 45, 50 minutes, but just really, and this isn't just a Chili Peppers thing. I think like 90% of double albums do not need to be double albums. Like I think the Chili Peppers did a much better thing with I'm With You by then a couple years later putting out this outtakes compilation, I'm Beside You, and kind of making it its own separate thing where they say, okay, these are the 14 best songs. Let's just put them on here, and then we'll make another little thing just for the fans,
Yeah. Any other fruitful additions, Ethan? You've been incredibly quiet, sir.
I mean, we're going to be doing this Peppers review, so I mean, I think this is just a good opportunity to discuss stuff not related to that new album, just so we don't get too bogged down with it,
I haven't heard I'm With You, and I feel like I should now.
Oh, you definitely, you definitely
really
should
good.
before we talk about The Getaway.
So then, okay, do you see yourself as a guy who purely mostly likes the Frusciante stuff?
Not necessarily, but most of the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, by default, he has been in more Chili Peppers albums than any other guitarist. So I feel like you do kind of have to consider him your favorite, just on the basis that you've heard more from him in the band. But at the same time, I think that's kind of screwed over Josh Klinghoffer, because even if his sound does mesh better with Chili Peppers than someone like Dave Navarro, that doesn't mean he has the same playing style. And I think that the thing that people hated about I'm With You is that he's not really as flashy, but he's just a really awesome like rhythm, like foundational guitarist for the other members to do awesome things on top of. And I feel like people just don't really appreciate that just because John Frusciante is this out in front virtuoso guy that's kind of defined their sound for the past like 20 years or so.
Definitely.
Well, and here's the thing, like this is why I think Dave Navarro was a good step in for when he stepped in, because Jane's Addiction, he was a very flashy guitarist in Jane's Addiction. Like songs like Stop, he shines. He fucking owns.
Oh yeah.
Songs. I like Jane's Addiction. I think they're a great band. But I do think that Dave Navarro also does something that Frusciante doesn't a whole lot of the time that Klinghoffer does. He also does a lot of that rhythm-y stuff, and he adds a good just lead, as opposed to being flashy like on some of the more toned-down tracks from their first record. Because when he joined the Chili Peppers, the Jane's Addiction wasn't doing shit. So it was good for him to kind of step into that role, and I feel like, yes, it is a little kind of as you described it, the Chili Peppers with a guy who played Jane's Addiction styles. But I feel like had that happened now, it would be seen. That's why I think it's kind of being seen more as a record that is praised more, because just to kind of bring it full circle, because Dave Navarro is one of those guitarists that could be flashy, but he also does a lot of that rhythm stuff that Klinghoffer's doing. So he's like a weird mix of both worlds.
And yeah, despite my kind of mixed feelings on One Hot Minute, I do think it was a good time for them to kind of get a kick in the pants, like heavier guitarist, because I can kind of see an alternate reality where either John stayed in or John left and they got just another guy that was just kind of an upstart guy, that would just do whatever the Chili Peppers ask. Where you saw them after Blood Sugar Sex Magik putting out a song like Soul Squeeze, which isn't bad, but is definitely on the popular side of things, and just kind of getting more definitely. But you're just getting, I can see them like getting more and more like soft and mellow and stuff like that, and it kind of getting a little too much. Whereas I think Dave Navarro was that good like momentum keeper to make sure they didn't get too much in that territory. So when John Frusciante rejoined them on Californication, they still had a lot of that energy that they had on Blood Sugar Sex Magik.
Well, here's the thing, Mark. Have you heard the Getaway yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's very similar to Dark Necessities.
Right. Okay, I like that, but we're gonna talk about that more in the review.
Yeah. I know. I'm not spoiling anything, but I'm just saying,
cool.
Like what you were saying, like they kind of slowed down. This is that album.
Okay, and you know what? At this point, I think I'm okay with that because, like you were saying, Johnny, like they're kind of. I feel like now is the point where it makes sense. Like I'm with you is an album that slowed things down a little, but still kept a lot of the creativity. And yeah, it would make sense now more than ever to kind of not be guys in their mid-50s rapping songs like "Sir Psycho Sexy" again.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the more reveled Chili Pepper songs came out of the Navarro era, and that was their cover of Love Roller Coaster. And I think that was a freaking fantastic cover, and I think that's the best Navarro fit in the band, oddly enough.
Yeah, and I think that what it was is that Dave Navarro, started out Jane's Addiction, and his playing style, I think, fits better with someone that totally belts out like Perry Farrell does, whereas, Anthony Kiedis is more just like this fun-loving but also kind of restrained guy. So I don't really think those styles really match together all the well, but it was still definitely a thing that needed to happen. Just kind of reiterate that thing from earlier.
Totally.
So is there? So I actually am kind of curious. Do you guys have like a favorite Chili Peppers album that you just cling to?
Californication.
I was gonna say Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Okay. Honestly, I think for me it is kind of a toss up between Blood Sugar Sex Magic and By the Way, which I think is kind of underrated because it's something I only realized once I was doing this shuffle of all their stuff, because that was one of their albums where even if it is a few songs too long, like anytime it got to a song like This the Place, Don't Forget Me, On Mercury, Minor Thing, or the title track, which I think is like, I honestly think the title track is maybe not their number one song, but I think it's like the best encapsulation of everything Chili Peppers in one package.
I agree with that, and I do think By the Way is a little underrated.
Yeah, but if it were like an 11-12 song album, it would be in like an all-time favorites list for me. And with The Getaway, it's 53 minutes, which is actually pretty short by post 80s Chili Pepper standards. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Which is crazy.
I know. Because it's funny because for at least the first decade of their career, they kind of had this unified, like, this is what we do sound. They'd never been, like, insanely diverse until, like, the last 15 years or so. So it's just kind of funny that they would make these, like, 17-song albums as the norm. And, like, One Hot Minute is one hot hour that gets cooler as it goes along, frankly.
Ha. Oh. Funny story, Mark.
But
really, how's
hour.
Your sex life?
Thank you. See, that's the Mark reference that I like hearing, not the Marky Mark.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
I'm trying to think of what other things we could be talking about here. Oh yeah, there is one more movie that Ethan that you want to talk about. Here we go. Yeah, this is a movie that he really likes. I really like too. It's another kind of independent movie that we kind of want to give more love to.
It's my favorite movie of the year so far.
Yeah. And John, you might actually be interested in like what this whole thing's about, and we're only gonna be talking about it for a little bit. We are coming up on about an hour now, so So this movie is called Sing Street, and it is about music, so that automatically it works for this podcast, okay? Mm-hmm. It's, I guess you can call it sort of a coming of age story, sort of 80s inspired, since it does take place in the 80s.
Yeah.
But it's basically about a guy that meets this girl and wants to impress her, and starts a band, and like it goes into all kinds of cool situations and stuff. It's weird. It's kind of the opposite of Lobster in a way, because when you just talk about what it's about, it doesn't sound very interesting. But when you see it, like you see all kinds of little stuff in it, that's really cool. And like Johnny, you were talking about all the a kind of 80s music you've been listening to, and a lot of this kind of revolves around that. And one thing that's really cool about it is that, so like Popstar, this movie does have a soundtrack with original songs on it that are all really good. Yeah. So this movie takes place in the mid-80s, and you'll notice that there will be a scene where he's talking with his brother about Duran Duran while the video for Rio is playing on the TV. And then the first song he writes with this band that he forms is like totally Duran Duran inspired, and he's like wearing that heavy makeup the next day. And then later on, like he'll hear Hall & Oates and then write a song that sounds a lot like Hall & Oates, and then hear The Cure, and he comes into school looking like Robert Smith, you know. And it's kind of subtle the way it's handled if you're not really paying super close attention, but it's just kind of a nice little detail there of how influence can go. I thought that was really cool. So if you're really into like the whole 80s pop kind of world, then it'll be kind of especially a treat just to kind of follow the stuff that's going on there.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly good.
What did you like about the movie? I was gonna say, what did you like about the movie, Pedro? Ethan?
I thought the entire movie was just incredibly well done, incredibly interesting, and pretty backed with a fantastic soundtrack. Seriously, "Drive It As You Stole It" is like my favorite song of the year right now. It's so catchy, it's so infectious, it's just so good. It's not my favorite song of the year, but it's up there. It's like a really great song. I just think it's, like, so incredibly fun. Like, as soon as you leave the theaters, you just feel joyous. And I've seen all of the movies that I really loved this year in theaters twice. I saw Zootopia twice, I saw Deadpool twice, and I saw Sing Street 4 times, which goes to a testament of how much I absolutely love this album.
You know what? I think I should see Sing Street again this year, because the one thing that annoyed me, and it wasn't about the movie itself, but so I saw, because it's an independent movie, it's playing in, not the big Regal theaters and all that. So I saw it in this local theater, and I'm not going to mention them, don't want to put them on blast, but it was like this small, like, one screen theater, and the sound system was kind of crap. It was like echoing. So, and because everyone's speaking in like a thick Irish or British accent, it was kind of hard to understand the dialogue a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I would want to see it again to get some of the intricacies in that, to kind of get more enveloped in the story. But but it was still pretty fun to follow along with. Either way.
So I know we saved this for the podcast, but I remember messaging you, Mark. What would you rate Sing Street out of 10?
It's tough because as much as I did come out of it saying 10 out of 10, it's perfect, but, I feel like I should give those to something that, has, I don't know, there's this, indescribable, this movie does a thing that no other movie I've ever seen does. And I did cry at one point, I'll give you that. But I think I would go with, the strongest of 9 out of 10s.
Yeah, I get that. It's incredibly really good.
It's funny, my 3 favorite movies of the year so far are this, Captain America Civil War, and Zootopia, and it's the kind of thing where, what basis can you compare the 3 on,
Yeah.
Clearly Zootopia has better animation, therefore it's number 1.
Well, here's the thing. I have a top 2016 movie rankings on IMDb where I ranked every single movie I've seen this year. I'm going to link it to you guys in our chat because, of course, you want to hear all about my favorite movies. But I've seen 10 movies this year. The worst was Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, and the best was Sing Street.
Rightfully so.
And right in the middle there, we got Captain America: Civil War at an 8 out of 10. So everything I've seen this year has been above average.
Okay. Yeah, and I was thinking about doing a follow-up discussion of Civil War with Nathan, my friend that we talked about Batman vs Superman with, but it wound up not really working out for one reason or another. But I did. Okay, the one other thing I've written down in my notes is that I did go to a local music festival just a couple miles away, a couple weeks ago, on the 5th, called, it was this thing held by 94.9, local radio station called SPF, and you know, I've talked about this festival that I went to every year for a few years called X Fest. I've talked about it on the channel a couple times. So this festival's put on by this station called 91X, and 91X and 94.9 basically play a lot of the same stuff. You know, alternative rock, kind of left the dial, but also kind of the mainstream alternative, and also throwing new artists. It's kind of a mishmash of stuff. And I kind of describe 91X as, for better or worse, like San Diego's K-Rock. And 94.9 is a lot less popular, but I feel like they're a little bit cooler. 94.9 announced SPF to be on June 5th. And then a couple weeks later, 91X announced X-Fest to be on June 5th. Now keep in mind, 94.9 holds their festival at a pier amphitheater. So like kind of a couple thousand, if that. Whereas X-Fest is held in an amphitheater. So like that holds thousands of people. So basically, and obviously I don't know how long the booking for each took, but I feel like that's the kind of thing that you would check. Because it wouldn't make sense for 94.9 to know about this and then plan on the same day, because of course they'd get shut out just by default. So I'm kind of thinking that it might have been a kind of a dick move on like the bigger radio stations' part, because apparently they have this kind of rivalry going on. That's like, man, I like both. Like, why can't we be friends? You know?
Because Mark,
I get
business.
It.
Yeah.
You can't have competition. You just gotta squelch the competition, Mark.
Yeah. You know what? 94.9 probably would have done a lot better. I mean, they did okay for the brand, but they would have done a lot better if they got a Funky Punch reunion.
Exactly. I'm free. I got nothing going on.
And that's as much as we're doing with that bit today.
Wait. Can I just add on to that bit just a tiny bit?
Fine.
Please.
Yeah.
My dad is obsessed with Mark Wahlberg. My dad loves.
What?
There's this TV show called Wahlburgers, and it's about the Wahlberg family and
That's
how
still on?
They have like a restaurant. Yeah, and my dad watches it every week. And when it comes out, he loves it.
That's amazing.
It's crazy. It's great.
So
Dad's my new favorite person.
That's fantastic. So anyway, so this festival, and it still did pretty well, things considered. Like the headliners were A-Ball Nation, Jake Bugg, the Wombats. There's also the Heavy, Lucius, the Strumbellas. Funny thing, the Strumbellas are like this, I guess, folky indie rock band that have this hit. It's weird when you hear a song that's like huge worldwide, and you go to look it up because they're toward the bottom of the bill, and it's like, oh, the song has 10 million views, but no one in America knows about it. It's just this weird thing that happens, this total kind of culture shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a song called Spirits that I actually do hope catches on in the US. It's a really good song. Though maybe it's a little too, I don't know, 2012 Lumineers-y for our current pop environment at the moment. But who knows? James Bay.
Listen,
James
Mumford
Bay
and Sons
had
are
it.
ahead of the trend.
Wait, what? What did you say?
So Mumford and Sons were ahead of the trend. They knew to jump the folksy shark when they did. Nobody wants to hear banjos anymore. They want to hear electricity again.
Well, there's no banjos in it, but you know.
Has any of you guys heard the new Lumineers album?
I almost listened to it.
They have a new album?
Oh yeah.
Boring.
I was curious for a second, like it was on my new albums to listen to thing for a minute, I did kind of like that Ophelia song, but it wasn't anything that...
Oh yeah, Ophelia was great. That's like my favorite song on the album.
So, but it's like not one of those things where it's like, I need to hear the rest of this. It's like, okay, they're still going, they're still making, pretty decent folky rock stuff. It's not too different, but whatever. And I didn't really hear like that much big buzz about the new album, even though it apparently went to #1, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Like
I saw that.
Like it's this weird reality in 2016 where like as much as you hear people saying that things change in the mainstream, like in 2016, the Lumineers have a #1 album. Justin Bieber's had 3 #1 hits. Mike Posner has his highest charting song yet.
Okay, can we discuss Mike Posner now?
Dang it.
Did you hear the song? Did you hear the album yet, Marky boy?
I did, and I think we disagree on it, like, a bit.
I think we disagree on it, like,
because it's your profile picture on Facebook.
Yes, that's how much I like
and
that album.
if you know what, I think that I just kind of have a lot of the same thoughts on it as ARTV. If you've seen his review.
Mm-hmm.
John, have you heard I Took a Pill in Ibiza by Mike Posner?
Nope. Oh. I don't have any interest.
But here's the thing, and I was saying, like, it's weird, but just like that we're talking about Mike Posner's biggest hit in 2016, but not only is this a big Mike Posner in 2016, it's a big Mike Posner in 2016 that's really good. And I think in a weird way that made my expectations for the album way too high, because it was just this sudden surprise of, wow, he's good now! Okay, the rest of it's by far the best song on the album, to me.
Incorrect. Nope. Nada.
Okay.
Bird in Detroit.
That's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
In the Arms of a Stranger. Jade. Silence. Iris.
I mean...
Be As You Are.
Okay,
those are all songs I like more than that one.
Really? Okay. So Be As You Are that's one of the better ones on there. It's probably number 2 or 3 for me. But because for Johnny, since you don't know, I Took a Pill in Ibiza is like this song about being a has-been pop star and kind of the shallow, kind of living off royalties lifestyle that comes with it.
I think I remember seeing a video or something
that goes to like having
about it. I have no interest in Mike Posner.
Todd in the Shadows?
Yeah, it might have been Todd talking about it.
So I was kind of going into it thinking that it would be this really cool album, like, that would be, you know, taking the singer-songwriter approach, but in, like, these cool, interesting directions that are related to being in this higher lifestyle, but just kind of missing everything, and kind of going off of that. But to me, anyway, to me, he just kind of took the singer-songwriter album template and just kind of did that over the course of the album to diminishing returns. My opinion, anyway.
10 out of 10. It's my favorite album of the year.
Wait, what?
Really?
What?
Yeah. That's my spoiler for my mid-year lists.
Ethan.
Wow.
It grew on me at, like,
I don't know. I guess, like, you hear enough, like, confessional singer-songwriter albums, and this is gonna sound super condescending. There's no way I can say it without, but I think that, like, I think that as you hear more albums in this vein, I guess you kind of detect the tropes a little more. And I was kind of went out of it thinking, okay, Mike Posner, good for you. You're making a nice confessional singer-songwriter album. I mean, on principle, good for you. Just could be a lot better. But I don't really want to get too much more into it. We're getting on about an hour and a half anyway. Okay, so I guess that this episode proved that that what you've been listening to lately could be just kind of an episode conversation starter than a strict segment, which I kind of like, you know, just in case we don't have strict topics to talk about, we can always just jump on that and have some interesting discussion. So guys, if you have any thoughts on what we've been talking about through this, Rae Chili Peppers, or just you know, whatever we've been talking about, Rae Jepsen, that you're surprised that, you know, artists that you would have scoffed at in 2012 are actually releasing critically acclaimed stuff now. I can't wait for the comeback of Far East movement.
It's never gonna happen.
they're gonna make like their random access memories. You just watch.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious about your thoughts on stuff we talked about today in the comments. Let us know if you have any like discussion topic ideas or anything. If you have any questions for us in future episodes, please don't leave like what's your favorite blank album, because that can get kind of monotonous after a while. I know I'm not big enough to be picky about questions, but I think that's just kind of a stipulation I want to have on it. So again, Ethan, just for people listening now that might not have heard of you before, which I would be surprised by because you have like twice as many subs as me. Can you tell people what to expect on your channel?
Well, I do album reviews. I show off CDs and records that I picked up every month, kind of similar to what Mark spins. But, for right now, I just do a lot of album reviews and some other little series here and there. But, if you want to see some album reviews, not as high quality as most of the people on here, check out my channel.
Okay, sounds good. And meanwhile, I'm kind of getting a list together of potential guests we could have on future episodes, like local musicians I know, because it would be fun to kind of do a similar thing as we're doing with Ethan here, but just but also making it a little more interviewee with people that might be of interest to you guys. We're seeing what happens, you know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Follow all of our information that I'll link in the description. I'll leave a couple links to like stuff we talked about in the episode, you know, that might be relevant. And hopefully we'll see you guys on the next episode of Mad Sounds. Guys, do your improvisational outro.
It's not intro, it's outro. Thank you for listening, Ethan. Thank you for joining this podcast. Really enjoyed having you as a guest, and you're a really nice, well orchestrated young man. You can really present your opinion well, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Cool.
Ba